Good morning, folks. We're back out here at Dad's shop today, and I got a package in the mail. And if you can't tell by what I've got sitting here, the package is a ash flash lantern that I bought off of eBay. I got it for $10. Nobody'd even put a bid on it. It was listed on there. It had actually gone through the auction one time, nobody bid on it. It was up the second time and still nobody had bid on it, so I just put the opening bid and I ended up getting it. Dad actually went and grabbed, let's see, I saw where it says it on here. Went and grabbed this flashlight. Yeah, on the bottom, there it is, to show too. It's an ash flash flashlight, and it says on the side, it's going to be hard to read on here, but made in Hong Kong, British Empire. The lanterns say the same thing on them. So when Hong Kong was ruled by the British Empire, this company was making these Coleman clone lanterns. They're very, very similar to a Coleman lantern. As a matter of fact, the pump leathers and the cap gaskets, all that stuff will interchange. And we've actually got more ash flash flashlights out here too. They started making flashlights before they started making lanterns. And we've got at least one more of them out here that's a black metal box with a flashlight lens like that on the front of it, but we haven't come up with it quite yet. Okay, let's see what we got here. First things first, the box is not even big enough for the lantern to fit in, so they just crammed it in there and taped it all shut. So that makes me not very hopeful for the condition of the lantern once it comes out here. I was aware when I bought it that there's no glass in it, and that really doesn't bother me when I buy one real cheap. I guess I won't say I don't care if it's got a glass, but I don't mind buying one without a glass if it's really cheap, especially because an ash flash most of the time has a Coleman replacement glass in it anyway. I don't have a single one that has an ash flash glass in it. Some people, some collectors like to hate on the ash flash lanterns, but I really don't mind them. What's that?
Well, it don't say ash flash, but it's made in British Columbia, and it's
Yeah, made in Hong Kong.
But this looks like a just right top on it though.
Yeah, and Dad went and found this flashlight.
I don't know if it's
I don't know if
ash
that's
flash or not. That's
an
their
ash flash,
style.
but it does say made in Hong Kong, BCC. So if anybody watching this knows, I know that ash flash was made.
Looks like a just right head on it though.
Yeah,
So,
I know that ash flash was made in Hong Kong, but I don't know about that. So if anybody knows, put it down in the comments. But anyhow, let's open this up and see just exactly what we got here. Here, I'll move the camera over here a little bit closer so that you can look down in the box and see exactly what we got going on here. They got it wrapped in bubble wrap to protect the glass that's not there. So they took enough care to wrap it all up, but they didn't bother to find a box that was big enough to put it in. Here's the vent. Got it in a Ziploc bag.
yeah.
It's very sooty on the inside, but ash flashes are well known for flaring up when they light up. They've got a big beefy generator in it that takes a while to heat up. And that's all wrapped up too. If you want to know more about ash flash lanterns, go to the YouTube channel King Coleman. He's got an ash flash lantern video that he's got most of the models that they made, and he did a lot of research on it and gives a pretty good in-depth history of the Ash Flash company, and it's a pretty good video. So if you want to know more about him than the little bit that I know, check out his channel and see his Ash Flash video. You got the plunger taped down for some reason. Not exactly sure why that is, but
It's all there.
yeah. It feels like it does absolutely nothing there, so we're gonna have to pull that out. The cap is loose, so I'm guessing they had the cap off. The cap gasket looks okay-ish. Might work. Might get by without having to replace the cap gasket, but it does kind of smell like old rotten gasoline, but it's bone dry. It does have the correct Ash Flash ball nut for it. And you set that down and knock it through one of the holes in the welding table and then have to scramble around looking for it. I can hear some rust. Oh, Jesus.
Oh my.
Yeah, that's not good. And I can hear some rust. Flaking around in there. $10 might have been plenty for this lantern.
Take apart, eh?
And that really smells like old rotten pump gas when you get that out of there. Well, let's get the old pocket flashlight out and take a look in there, even though I already know it's not going to be fantastic. I can see the end of the pump tube. I think it surprisingly doesn't look horrible in there, but you know it's rusty. If I dump that much rust out of it, you know it's rusty in there. But I think the first thing I'm going to do is pull this pump apart, see if I can get that to work, and then I might just dump a little bit of fuel in it, swish it around, dump it out a couple times to try to rinse it out. This does not have, like some lanterns have a little, I guess I don't know how to explain it, like there's a little tube that extends from the fuel filler down into the tank so that you can't dump all the fuel out of it. But this one is not. It's just a bung in the side of it and it's flush on the inside, so I feel like I can do a pretty good job of getting everything that's loose in there dumped out of there. So maybe just flushing it a couple times would be good enough, if it's not already got the pickup tube plugged up. But that's why the first thing I'm going to do is see if I can get the pump to work, pump a little pressure in it, and then crack the valve open and see if I hear anything. Let's get a towel over here. Wipe all this stuff off of here. Dad can sweep that up next time he sweeps the floor. Pull this pump leather out of here. See what it looks like. Oh.
Looks like new.
Yeah. Yeah, it actually looks really nice. It's not even very stiff. Look at that. That's crazy. That is nice and soft. I'm just gonna dip it in my Marvel Mystery Oil here to
Yeah, it should be sitting there.
limber it up. Dip it in there and let it set with that oil on it for a few minutes, but that's really nice pump weather. Get a flashlight out again, look down inside the pump tube. Yeah, it's not rusty in there. I think it was just inside the tank, but I want to pump it up and make sure that there's no, you don't hear any air hissing out anywhere. I don't know, I'm surprised. The inside of the tank really doesn't look that bad for as much rust as I dumped out of there.
Maybe you ought to get the blowgun blowing there before you pump it up and push that stuff through there.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. We'll pause the camera, I'll get the blowgun out and blow some air through here, and actually maybe I'll even just go ahead and dump a little bit of fuel in there, swish it around and dump it out a couple of times. Get that rinsed out, and then I'll see if it'll pump any air and if anything passes. Okay, I blew it out, I rinsed it out. I got a little bit more out of there when I was blowing it out, but not much. And then I rinsed it out, and the first couple ounces of fuel that I dumped in there and rinsed out the first time, it was pretty dirty when it came out of there. The second time it didn't look too bad. The third time it was almost clear. So I think it's probably going to be okay. I don't know. That doesn't seem like it's going to clean up very much, but I'm not terribly concerned about it at this point either. We'll just clean up the bottom just a little bit. Just take a little layer of the grime off of it. I can clean it up a little more later on if I want to, after I know whether or not it's going to work, or if it's going to end up as a parts lantern maybe. But I'm guessing I can get her to work. I guess since I got the gas cleaner right here, I might as well hit that quick. Yeah, ash flash lanterns are well known for flaring up when you light them up. The one on this side back here, I've showed on here before. One of my very first videos actually had that lantern and a couple other lanterns in it. And I think it was just titled How to Light a Coleman Lantern. Even though that one's not a Coleman, I had a couple different Coleman lanterns in that one in that video. And then the ash flash, well, I had a couple of Coleman lanterns and that ash flash lantern in that video. I've had that lantern since I was about maybe 14 or so. And that was the first lantern that I got that got me interested in vintage lanterns. Wow, that's a mess. I should have just left all that soot alone in there. Now I'm gonna have it all over myself. But yeah, I bought that lantern. I'm pretty sure that we paid $5 for it at a yard sale. Dad helped me get it going, and that's what first got me interested in vintage lanterns. And then this one over here on this side I just bought last fall at a lantern get together that I go to, and I paid $10 for it. It didn't have a globe in it at the time either, and I brought it home and it was full of fuel, and I tried the pump and it felt like it was full of pressure. It even had enough pressure in it, it lit without even doing anything to it. So all I had to do was put a glass in it, but it worked without even putting any fuel, or I wouldn't even have had to pump it. Yeah, that turns. Let's stick the leather back in there. We'll see if this check valve is going to work. I don't know if the check valves in here are the same as a Coleman check valve. So if it didn't work and I had to take it out, I don't know if they're exactly the same and I could swap it out, or if even if my check valve removal tool would work on this. My guess is it would be, but I really don't know that for a fact. Get in there. There we go. Well, the pump feels like it's doing something now. Geez, I got oil everywhere, making a mess. The pump feels like it's doing something now, so that's a good sign. The old ash flash sticker's kind of coming off of there, and that was pretty common. They were a cheaply made Coleman knockoff, and they just were not as good a quality as a Coleman lantern. But they do work well. Like I said earlier, some of the collectors, yeah, check valve's leaking, but it is pumping up and building pressure. Some of the Coleman collectors are kind of down on ash flash lanterns, but I kind of like them. They're neat, something different. Well, since I've got this right here and don't have carb cleaner right here, I'm going to do the same thing that I usually do with carb cleaner, but I'm just going to dump a splash of fuel in here and use the pump to push that fuel through the check valve and see if that will loosen up that check valve and get it working. Sometimes a little carb cleaner or even just some WD-40 pumped through there will break it loose and get it to get the old check valve to start check valving again. Oh geez. It's still leaking by. And it definitely is not the same as a Coleman check valve. Interestingly enough, I've never even had my other one apart to look in there, but it looks like this check valve has a hex head, like you could just get a socket and extension on it. I don't know what size that is. Start with 12 millimeter and see what happens. And that feels kind of loose on there. We'll go one socket smaller. This will probably be too small. Nope, fits right on there. Well, I don't need that extra one either. That's kind of a nice design, actually. The Coleman ones have a slot in there and you have to have a tool, or else you can end up ruining your check valve trying to get it out. I might still ruin this one trying to get it out, who knows. Oh, there we go. Pull that out of there and see what we got here. The check valve is pretty similar design to a Coleman check valve, but it's not exactly the same. There we go. Check valve is stuck tight. Well, it's rattling now. Well, I got it out of there. I'm going to go ahead and go find a can of carb cleaner and spray some carb cleaner through it, since I've already gone to the trouble of pulling it out of there. Now I got it loosened up a little bit. We'll put it back in there and try it again. It's got to be better than it was. I feel like that's plenty tight. Alright, thread that back in there. Maybe. There we go. Put that back in there. Okay. Yeah, it's still wanting to leak by. Wonder if my cap gasket will hold any pressure at all. Put it on there and pump it up good to get some pressure. Maybe once you get a little bit of pressure in there to where it can have a little force pushing back against the ball, it'll seat and work better. Who knows, that cap gasket might not hold at all either. Oh, that's going to be a pain without those screws in there. It's going to keep popping back off of there probably. Try to get my thumb over it, hold that in place. Get a little bit of pressure build up in here so that it can actually have some force pushing back against that check ball. It's still leaking by. Might be good enough to try it out though. I don't even know if any of the rest of the lantern's going to work. It is building some pressure though. It's not, like sometimes that'll right straight back out, so it's not leaking a ton of pressure by there, but it is still leaking. So if the rest of the lantern works out, there it's leaking a little bit more there. If the rest of the lantern seems to work out, then maybe I'll have to work on that check ball a little better, or look into maybe finding a replacement. Ooh. Ooh, dang.
Loosen that jam up.
This fits. Well, that's turning, but the knob still is not turning at all. before I force it, I'm going to get our little micro torch and heat that up a little bit there. See if that helps it break loose. Sometimes all it takes is just a little bit of heat. Oh, it was threaded out all the way. I tried turning it both ways before and it didn't seem like it wanted to turn, but it was threaded out all the way. Well, that's a bad sign because I don't hear any air hissing and it's building pressure, so that is not encouraging. Yeah, the up to light, down to burn, which I guess that's not really true. That's on a stove. It's supposed to be up to light, down to burn, but the tip cleaner lever is all the way up. So maybe that's why no air was leaking by, because the tip cleaner is in the tip of the generator. But as I'm looking at it right now, I just realized the end of the generator is not even seated into the air manifold where it should be.
There you go. Bingo.
Easy peasy. All right, well, let's open this up again and turn this tip cleaner. I still can't hear anything, but I got two lanterns hissing behind me. I don't hear anything. I also don't know if it's got any pressure left in it because I don't know if the fuel cap's barely. It barely had any pressure in it. Okay. For the sake of making things slightly easier on myself, I'm just going to grab one of my Amish fuel caps and put on here. Fortunately, Ash Flash does have the exact same caps and everything. They're interchangeable with Coleman, so my Amish fuel cap with the Schrader valve on it will go right on there. And then I've got a air chuck with a pressure regulator on it so we can dial it right down. Coleman lanterns, they measure the pressure in bar, and I think it says that it's supposed to be 1 to 3 bar, which is approximately 15 to 45 psi. I usually set this at about 25. 25 pounds is plenty of pressure for them to work well. Let's put a little pressure in here and see what it does. I can hear it hissing now. Well, the tip cleaner's doing a whole lot of nothing. But it stops hissing when I close the valve. Starts again when I open it back up. The tip cleaners in these are not much to brag about, that's for sure. They're not as good as a Coleman tip cleaner. And as a matter of fact, that lantern, the tip cleaner does not work. I took it apart, got it straightened out, put it in there, and they're just so chintzy that the wire doesn't line up with the hole well, and you just end up bending the tip cleaner wire over again. So on the few that I've messed with, it seems like a pretty common issue to not have the tip cleaner work properly. On that one that I've had for 20 years, I've never had any issue with it. I've never even taken the generator out of it. We bought it, got it going, and it has just always been a good working lantern for me. But I do know that people complain that they are kind of a chintzier version of a Coleman lantern. And that's exactly, they were just made to be a cheaper alternative to a Coleman lantern.
The flashlights go that way too.
Yep. Alright, well, since it passes air through the valve, I'm not even going to pull the generator off right now. I'm just going to throw a couple of cheap Coleman mantles on here and put a little fuel in it, pressurize it again with the Amish style fuel cap, and we'll see if this thing will light and burn. Okay, I got the mantles tied on there. I filled it up with fuel. So I'm going to go ahead and put some pressure in it first. Then I'll burn the mantles in. And we'll see if this old girl will light up or not. Go. Put my little cap back on there so I don't lose it. Let's burn these new mantles in. Okay. Well, this did not have a globe with it, but I've got a Coleman made in China globe here, which is kind of fitting. This lantern was made in Hong Kong, so they come from the same general area of the world. So we'll just throw a made in China globe in here. I'll go ahead and put the top back on. Actually, I'll leave the top off. It might flare up like crazy for a while, and I just cleaned some of the soot off of it, so I'll light it, then I'll put the top back on.
Now where'd the lighter go?
Put it clear back there again. Apparently I wanted it out of the way.
The holes are big enough.
Yeah, at least you can fit a lighter in here. Alright, let's see what happens. Uh-oh. Yeah, I thought it's dripping fuel on my finger, but I did loosen up that jam nut on there when I was trying to get the valve open. It was all the way open already.
That's right.
So let's snug that back down a little bit. Just to not set my hand on fire here. Alright, let's try again. I can hear it hissing.
Yeah, there you go.
Like I said, that's a pretty common thing for... It's still dripping fuel on my finger. Tighten that a little more. It's nice and bright. That really didn't flare up too terrible bad. Uh-oh. If it plugs up the tip, I can't even turn the tip cleaner.
Oh.
We'll try it and see if it... Yeah, tip cleaner's doing absolutely nothing. If it's even in there. But like I said, the single mantle one I've got is the same way, and I've took it apart a couple times, straightened out the wire on the tip cleaner, and they're just not as good a quality as a Coleman, and the wires don't line up perfect with the hole and bend right over. But all in all, it lit up pretty nicely.
Very nice lantern.
It's in decent enough shape. I'll light it back up this evening at home, let it burn and run some fuel through it.
Maybe put some seafoam in it.
Yeah, I should have grabbed that and brought it out with me, but I didn't even think about it. I'm not going to mess with it now since I've already got it lit and burning, but yeah, seems to be burning pretty decent.
Nice lantern.
So if you guys would like to see me tear this completely apart, clean the tank out, I can pull the pickup tube out of the tank, clean the tank good, get that check valve back out of there and work on it a little bit more, maybe soak it in some cleaner and try to get it working, and replace the fuel cap gasket. I've talked about that in several videos, but I've never done it. So if you'd like to see a full rebuild of this ash flash lantern, leave it down in the comments. If I get enough people that seem to be interested in seeing the whole thing rebuilt, I'll go ahead and do that. I don't know if the camera will catch this or not, but I was just standing over here on this side and I saw a drip of fuel come off of there and run down the front of the lantern. And there's another one forming right now. There, it just dripped and ran down there, and then you can see it flash and dry again there. Let's try to snug it up a little bit more. The way I like to do that is I just turn the knob and then turn the packing a little bit more, turn the knob again, and you can feel when it gets, there we go, that's pretty snug. So I'll dry the bottom of this off now. And I don't see any fuel starting to pool on the bottom of it now. So that ought to be good, but that's a good way to tighten them up, is just turn the knob a little bit, go a little tighter. Once it gets to where there's good resistance on the knob, that's usually all it takes. I've only ever had one lantern that the packing was so bad that I had to swap it out and put a different one in there. Usually you can snug them up and get them to quit leaking. Well folks, I brought the lantern home. I got it back out about 3:30 this afternoon. It's about 9:30 now. I just pumped it back up again. I'm going to let it go a couple more hours before I shut it off and head to bed. But it's sitting out here running nice. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like and the subscribe button. Leave a comment down below. Share the video. All those things really help out. Come on back next week, folks. We'll have a video or something here for you to watch.